This sheriff dispatcher, if called as a witness, will testify the caller identified himself as John Ernest, and this portion of the 911 call, introduced at the preliminary hearing, is also a fair and accurate recording of that conversation, which was properly recorded.
Slow down a little bit. Slow down, just it'll help my court reporter a lot.
Will do. Which was also properly recorded on the sheriff's 911 system.
Right, is that stipulation?
Yes, and again, just emphasizing just for the purpose of preliminary hearing, we can stipulate.
I think he said that when he wrote the stipulation.
All I've done for the record is I've marked Court's Exhibit 5. It's a envelope containing 2 CDs. It contains a PowerPoint that has the 911 call audio on it, along with a synchronized transcript. And for Court's Exhibit 6, I've marked the actual transcript for that. I'd like to introduce that at this point, and defense counsel has seen and reviewed both of those exhibits.
And Mr. O'Connell, do you have any objection to moving those into evidence?
No, Your Honor.
At this point, I'd like to play what is contained in Court's Exhibit 5. And so the court report does not have to transcribe. If Mr. O'Connell will stipulate that the transcript that is Court's Exhibit 6 be given to Madam Reporter.
Thank you.
Mercy, what are you reporting? Hello, 911.
Yeah, I just showed up in Synagogue. I'm in my car right now.
Are you the suspect?
What's that?
You said that you what?
I just showed up in Synagogue. I'm defending my country. I'm in my car. You can come get me on Garage Street.
Where are you at?
Rancho Bernardo. I'm in Bernardo Center Drive right now. I'm still driving right now.
Okay, where do you want to pull over?
Sure.
Where are you pulling over at?
You guys can track my phone, right?
Okay, you're calling from 858-999-1461?
Yeah.
What's your name?
John Ernest.
John, your last name is Ernest?
Yeah.
And where are you pulling over at?
I can't pull over right now.
Where are you at?
I'm in Rancho Bernardo.
Where at though? Where at in Rancho Bernardo?
I don't know.
Do you know what street you're on?
No.
What kind of car are you in?
Honda Civic. You know,
What color Honda Civic are you in?
gray.
Do you still have weapons on you?
They're in my car, but I won't use them. I'll get out of my car when I can see that. I'm off the guy right now. Hold on. I'll pull over.
Okay. Hey,
Somebody found my box. And I started building so thick. I can fire on at it. It just has to be given very specific. Not fire.
hello, John?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on one moment. Okay, John, do you know where you're at?
Yeah, I'm right by West Bernardo Drive. I'm on Rancho Bernardo Road though.
You're on West Bernardo?
I'm right by the crossing, yeah.
And what kind of weapons do you have on you, John?
I have an AR-15, Smith & Wesson, MC-15. It's right on the passenger side. When I see you guys, I'm going to get out of my car. I have a vest on right now. It has ammunition. It has nothing else. My weapon will be leaving inside the car.
And what kind of vest do you have on?
Oh, it's just a chest rig.
A what?
Hold it. It's a chest rig. Hold ammunition.
Are you military?
No, I'm not. I'm just trying to defend my nation from the Jewish people.
How old are you,
Destroying-
John?
19. They're destroying our people. I'm trying to show them that we're not going to go down without a fight. We're not going
Okay, John, I'm going to try to get you transferred over to San Diego Sheriff's. John, do you see any buildings around you?
Yeah.
What do you see?
Gas station, 7-Eleven.
I'm sorry, you're across from where? What kind of gas station?
There's a Chevron on one side and 76.
And you said that there's a 7-Eleven nearby?
Yeah. Man, you guys take a long ass time. You realize you're fighting the wrong people, right? You're serving a government that's going to kill all of you.
Okay, John, stay on the line. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get you transferred over to the Sheriff's Department, okay? Hold on one moment for me, okay? Hey, Steve, Miss Stacy, I have your suspect on the landline of the shots fired.
What's the location?
John, go ahead and talk. Sheriffs are on the line.
There's a crossroads between West Bernardo Drive and I believe Rancho Bernardo Road. Right by the 7-Eleven and Chevron and the 76. And 911.
Sheriff, this is CHP. Your suspect is on the line. Go ahead.
Hi, this is the Sheriff's Department. Yeah. What's your name? Jonathan. What's going on? I'm defending my nation against the Jewish people who are trying to destroy all white people. Where are you right now? At the intersection of West Bernardo Drive and Rancho Bernardo Road. West Bernardo and what? I believe it's Rancho Bernardo Road. I can't see so. So you're at Bernardo and Rancho Bernardo? No, I'm at the intersection of West Bernardo Drive and Rancho Bernardo Road. I believe it's Rancho Bernardo Road, but I can't see it. It's on the side. Are you in a vehicle? Yes, I am. What kind of car are you in? I have the ability. What kind of vehicle are you in? What kind of vehicle are you in? On the Civic, 2012, gray. What weapons do you have? AR-15, Smith & Wesson, MC-15, 42. In the passenger seat, I'm not going to use it.
you right now?
No, they're not. I'm wearing a chest rig that's carrying ammunition. That's all there is on it.
Okay, are you stopped or moving?
I'm stopped. Been here for a long ass time.
And you're inside the vehicle right now?
Yes, I am.
Are you at the intersection, or are you in a driveway somewhere, or?
I'm on the side of the road. Yeah, I'm pretty much
What's the closest business you're next to?
the 76 gas station. And also a Phil's barbecue.
And what clothing are you wearing?
Wearing black long pants, brown shirt, chest rig, wear glasses.
Are you wearing a hat?
Nope. Brown hair.
Okay, and I want to make sure that you're stopped there, right?
Yes. Jesus Christ, you guys suck at your job.
So what happened?
I opened fire at a synagogue. I think I killed some people. Another man returned fire with a pistol. Stuck out stuff, didn't hit me at all. Went back in my car, drove away.
Are you injured?
I don't think so.
And where exactly are the guns right now?
There's only one gun in my passenger seat.
Is the gun loaded right now?
I believe not.
Do you have extra ammo for that gun?
I do. It's on my chest rig right now. Once I see you guys, I'm going to get out of my car. I will have the chest rig on with the ammo, but the gun will be left inside the car.
Okay, can you take that chest rig off?
I mean, it's pretty hard. I can take the ammo out of it.
Why don't you do that? And what's your first name again?
John,
Last name?
Ernest, D.A.
What's your birthday?
June 8, 1999.
Anybody else in the car with you?
Nope, just me.
Okay. Why'd you do it?
Because the Jewish people are destroying the white race. They have been for a long time and no one's doing anything about it. Something has to be done.
All right. Which direction is your vehicle facing?
It's facing, I don't fucking know.
Do you know which direction
To
was
the
north,
right
south, or
of
west?
me, to the right of me is the Phil's barbecue.
Okay.
You in your car.
That completes the call, Your Honor.
Your Honor, the people next call Jonathan Reese. over here, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please be seated at the witness stand. Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Jonathan Reese, W-I-E-S-E.
Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Can you please tell the court what you do for a living?
I'm a police officer with the City of San Diego
How long have you been a police officer?
for 20 years.
Do you have a specific assignment right now?
I'm assigned to the K-9 unit.
Were you working on April 27th, 2019?
Yes, I was.
And at about 11:24 a.m., where were you?
And that time I was in about the Mission Valley area around the I-15 and Friars Road.
Were you in a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes, I was.
And was your K-9 with you?
Yes, he was.
Anyone else?
No.
At that time, did you receive any dispatch calls concerning a possible shooting near Poway?
Yes, I did.
What happened after you received that initial call?
The initial call came in as what's an 11-6. It's radio code for someone heard shots being fired in the area of Rancho Bernardo. We get a lot of those. So at first, it was kind of an unfounded call. But in my vehicle, I scanned multiple radios, and I was able to hear on Poway Sheriff Dispatch that they were also getting shots fired calls. So I knew that this was probably a legitimate call.
So it wasn't until you heard the Poway Sheriff's relay information that there was a shooting that you decided to respond?
Correct.
And when you decided to respond, did you activate your lights and sirens?
Yes, I did.
How long did it take you to get there?
So from 15 to Friars, going northbound, there was no traffic. I was doing about 130 miles an hour, so it took me just under 10 minutes to get to Rancho Bernardo.
Were you receiving updates from dispatch as you were driving to the Rancho Bernardo Poway area?
Yes, I was.
And what updates did you receive?
So my car, I was able to lock onto Poway Sheriff's, Oceanside, and San Diego CHP, and then our Northeastern Dispatch, and trying to get whatever information I could to where the shooter was. And that was my main focus, was to locate the shooter.
Were you assigned that task, or was that something you decided to do on your own?
That is a task that the K-9 officers are tasked with, is to go after the suspect.
While you were driving to the Rancho Bernardo area, did you receive a specific location where the suspect might be?
The first area I heard was the area of West Bernardo Drive, which is west of the I-15 in Rancho Bernardo. That was the initial location. And the second location I got was near Phil's Barbecue on Rancho Bernardo Road.
Did you drive to the Phil's Barbecue on West Bernardo Road?
Yes, I did.
And tell us what you saw when you arrived at that location.
When I exited Rancho Bernardo Road from the 15 north, turned west, went under the 15, and as you kind of come over a small hillside, I noticed there was a vehicle stopped in the far right lane in traffic, which seemed odd to me.
What kind of vehicle was it that you saw?
It was a gray sedan.
Were you able to see through the windows if there were any occupants inside this sedan?
No, I wasn't.
What did you do when you saw the sedan kind of blocking the traffic?
I still wasn't sure who or what the sedan's involvement was, or where the shooter might be, or if they were even in the area. So I stopped about 25 feet short of the sedan to kind of take in the whole scene.
And what did you see when you stopped 25 feet behind?
I saw the driver's door open. I could see a white male look back at me. I noticed he was wearing a black glove on his left hand as he was holding the door open.
Did you give any directions to that person who had opened the driver's side door over your PA system?
Yes, I did.
And what instructions did you give that person?
I believe I ordered them to show me their hands or raise their hands.
Did that person do that?
Not immediately, no.
What happened after you gave that command?
The driver's door opened and the driver of that sedan stepped out.
Do you see the person who stepped out of that sedan here in court today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please identify for the record where that person is seated and something that they are wearing?
He is seated at the defense table, wearing the blue jumpsuit with the white undershirt.
The record reflected the witnesses identified the defendant, Mr. Ernest.
Thank you. What did the defendant do once he opened the car door?
He stood up out of the car and faced me.
And what happened after he got out of the car and faced you?
I was getting out of my car, and then I began to approach him, giving him orders.
What orders did you give him?
I yelled at him to get on the ground.
Did the defendant do that?
Yes, he did.
Had you pulled out any firearms or any weapons when you started approaching the defendant?
Yes, I pulled out my handgun.
What happened after that?
He went down into kind of a kneeling, almost like hips up, hands down in front of him position. Not knowing if anyone was in the car or if anyone was around, I just approached him as quick as I could to take him into custody.
And were you able to do that?
Yes, I was.
When you were dealing with the defendant, did you see anyone else inside the car?
No, as I approached, I cleared the vehicle to make sure there wasn't anyone else inside, and I didn't see any persons inside, no.
Did you handcuff the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And while you were handcuffing him, did he make any spontaneous statements to you?
Immediately on the ground, when I was handcuffing, he didn't make any statements. Then I stood him up because I still wasn't sure if there was anyone else around. His first statement was, "How's your day going?"
After the defendant said that, did you respond?
Yeah, I told him it was going pretty shitty.
What, if anything, did the defendant say after that?
He asked me, or he made a statement of, "But you're seeing action," or "I thought you wanted to see action."
When you stood the defendant up, did you then pat him down?
Yes, I did.
And did you find anything?
He was wearing like a green tactical load-bearing ammunition vest that was empty, and then I believe he had his wallet in his, I think it was his left pocket, but nothing else on him.
While you were patting down the defendant, did he make any spontaneous statements to you then?
Yeah, he started to say something similar to, "Do you know what the Jews have done to our race?" or something similar to that nature.
After you stood the defendant up and he made that statement, did other law enforcement officers start converging at the scene?
Yeah, it took a couple minutes for the first officer to get there, but yeah, they did show up within a couple minutes.
After other officers arrived, did you look inside the sedan to see if there was anything of value or of note inside the car?
Yeah, the driver's door was still open, so I looked inside, obviously, to check for any other persons. Then I also popped the trunk to make sure there was no one inside the trunk. So I was doing what's called a safety sweep of the vehicle for other subjects.
And were there any other subjects inside the car?
No, there weren't.
When you were doing this safety sweep, did you notice anything in the front passenger seat of the sedan?
Yes, I did.
And what did you see?
There was an AR-15 style rifle. There were several loaded 30-round AR-15 magazines. There was what looked like a ballistic style helmet with a GoPro attached to the front. I could also see his cell phone was sitting on the center console plugged in, and it looked like it had some sort of map feature up on it.
Officer Reese, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Courts Exhibit 7. It's a 3-page document. Take a look at that and let me know if you recognize it.
Yes, I do recognize the two photos.
Okay, and page 1 of Courts Exhibit 7, that's just a cover sheet that says Ernest arrest, and it has the case information. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Permission to publish, actually, let me back up. Page 2 of Courts Exhibit 7, is that a photograph of the defendant?
Yes, it is.
And does it fairly and accurately depict how he looked during your contact with him on April 27, 2019?
Yes, that's exactly what he was wearing and what he looked like that day.
Permission to publish page 2 of Courts Exhibit 7.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right.
What's on the screen now, Officer Reese, is that the same image that you have in front of you on page 2 of Court 7?
Yes, it is.
Now, the vest that you had talked about, is that the green vest that's over the defendant's brown shirt?
Yes.
And did you actually pat down the vest to see if there was anything inside it?
Yes, I did.
And was there anything found in it?
No.
Drawing your attention to Courts Exhibit 7, page 3, is that a photograph of the items that you saw on the front passenger seat of the sedan?
Yes, it is.
And does that fairly and accurately depict the items that you saw on April 27, 2019?
Yes, it does.
Permission to publish, Madam.
Any objection?
No objection.
Did you move any of these objects around at all when you were doing your safety sweep?
No, I did not.
So all the items that you see in this picture are in their original position. Is that correct?
Correct.
You and I have nothing else.
Show call.
You work for the San Diego Police Department, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you first heard anything, you were in the Mission Valley area, is that correct?
Yes.
And you said originally you heard something about shots fired, but you had to verify that before you knew that it was a serious incident, is that right?
Correct.
And you heard this on the Poway Sheriff's Department's radio, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm just having, why did you decide to respond to this since it was a sheriff incident, not a San Diego Police Department incident?
It's a borderline call, meaning it's on the borderline of the county and the city. So we're not 100% sure whether it's going to be in the city or the county. And then also, as a K-9 officer, we're assigned mutual aid, where if we can help an outside agency, we will.
Okay. And then I think that question was asked if somebody asked you to go there. You said no, but K-9, or I guess it's part of your duties to respond. Is that right?
Correct.
So nobody called you and said, hey, officer, you need to report there. You just did that because that's part of your duties.
From my recollection, I went on my own, but dispatchers will also automatically ask for us on certain calls, and a shots fired call, they would ask for us. So I don't recall if she asked or the dispatcher asked, or I automatically went without being asked.
At that point, how much detail did you have about this shots fired?
Not much.
Because you responded, you said you went 130 miles an hour, that sounds pretty fast to me. So it sounds like you took it as a pretty important incident you had to report to, is that right?
Correct.
On the way, though, you said that I think you had listening to several different bands, is that correct?
Correct.
What were they again?
Poway Sheriffs,
Right.
Oceanside, and San Diego CHP,
Okay.
and then our San Diego Police Northeastern Division.
Okay, so 4 different law enforcement agencies, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you were getting updates as you were going from those 4 different, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And for example, I think you were given 2 different locations at one point about where the suspect was, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Were you given any information about the suspect himself as you were approaching?
The only thing I remember standing on my mind was a male wearing a black jacket.
Did they tell you about how he was going to respond to law enforcement? Did they give you any information about that?
No.
And at that point, did they tell you, was it just one person, or did they let you know their possibility? They didn't know.
They didn't know.
So when you got to the area where the Phil's barbecue, that's the first thing you noticed, of course, was the car sort of parked in the wrong location. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And you parked about 25 feet away just to kind of get a view of the scene. Is that right?
Yes.
Because you didn't know if there were other suspects or what was going on. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. How long do you think you were there before you noticed something happening in the car in front of you?
Seconds.
Okay. And you said that the door opened and you saw black gloved hand and you saw the suspect look back at you. Is that right?
Correct.
Did the door then shut again?
Yes.
Okay. And then I think you said in your report that you made some announcements using, I think you have your car you have a speaker system, is that right?
Yeah, it's got a public address system that I can talk on.
Okay, and you used that at that point, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and what did you say at that point?
Something to the effect of show me your hands or raise your hands. Let me see your hands, something to that nature.
Okay. And then you said you saw the door open up again and he started to get out of the vehicle, is that right?
Correct.
And you said about simultaneously you started getting out of your vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. You had your firearm, is that right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And he got out and was standing facing you, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Did he have his hands up, or do you remember at that point?
They were down at first, but I think he raised them when I told him to put his hands up or to get on the ground.
Okay. And then I think you told him to get on the ground, and that's when he got down on, you described everything on all fours, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then he laid down on the ground, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And you ran up to him and were able to, you asked for his arms, he gave them to you, and you were able to handcuff him, is that right?
Yes, he was.
He obeyed all your commands, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And he was cooperative, is that correct?
Yes.
And you stood him up because at this point, you, for example, didn't know how many people might be in the vehicle, is that right?
Correct.
Or if there was other people around that could be potentially a danger, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And then after you stood him up, how long after that did the other law enforcement officers arrive?
It would seem like forever. I would say it was probably a couple minutes.
Okay. And while you had him up there, did you just have him standing there and then just conducted a pat-down search, is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And I think you found his wallet, and I think you took his wallet out of his pocket, is that right?
Yes.
Where did you put the wallet?
On the trunk, on the driver's side, on top of the trunk.
And is that the last you had anything to do with that wallet?
Yes.
Okay. You said that you also did a safety check of the vehicle. Did you do that at that point, or did you wait till the other officers get there?
I waited till another officer was there.
Okay. So somebody else could come and take responsibility of Mr. Ernest at that point, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And what you did is you just looked inside, looked in the back, and you popped the trunk, is that right?
Yes.
And what you were doing was just looking to see if there was other people there.
Correct.
After other officers got there, did you have any other responsibilities at that point?
No.
Okay. Did you remain at the scene?
Yes, I did.
How long did you remain at the scene?
About 5 hours.
Okay. So you were there when the other officers got there and when the vehicle was towed and that. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
You were there and while the other officers were there, and when you saw the vehicle get towed away, etc.?
I did. I left before the vehicle was towed.
Okay. During that period of time while you were there, did you see anybody search the vehicle?
No, I didn't.
Did you see what happened with the wallet, for example?
No, I didn't.
While you were there, did you have any specific duties, or were you just there to, you know, I think you were interviewed at some point, is that right?
Correct.
But other than that, did you have any specific duties while you were there at the scene?
No, I did not.
When you looked in the vehicle, did you touch or move any of the items?
None of the items in the photos. I think there was a bin or something I kind of moved to look behind in the trunk, but nothing in the passenger compartment.
Okay. Other than the discussion you mentioned with Mr. Ernest, did you Mirandize him at any point during your discussions with him?
No, I did not.
During this period of time, I think you never deployed your dog, is that right? Never asked him to get out and deal with the suspect or anything like that?
Correct. He was always in the backseat.
Just out of curiosity, what's your dog's name?
Gucci. Gucci.
That's all.
Strip.
I have nothing further. Does the court want to take the lunch break at this point?
Sure. Right, well, you recess till 1:30?
Thank you.